Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
So if we come over here to our Bondo mixing table, what we're looking at here, we got us a cup. We're going to use some 2-inch tape. We're going to use a stir stick, and of course we got our fiberglass resin. And one more thing we need, which I'm going to get out of our bag right here, is we're going to take some fiberglass mat, not cloth. This is mat. You have to use the mat. If you use cloth, it won't work. So we're going to cut a little section just like this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that fiberglass mat and I'm going to cut little pieces out of it just randomly as I pour them in here. Now it doesn't take a lot on a repair like this, but this is really important when repairing your fiberglass, to repair it this way. A lot of people think, well, I got a crack, so I'm going to put some fiberglass mat and resin on the back side of the crack, and then it'll stay strong, and it doesn't. You literally have to grind the crack out, kind of like being a dentist. This is basically what a dentist would do to your tooth. He takes his little grinders and he grinds out the cavity, because that's what basically we found. We found a cavity. Let's just, look at it in a dentist aspect. And now what we're going to do, we're going to fill the cavity in. The way we're going to do that is we're going to take some fiberglass mat. So we're going to go ahead and take our resin, we're going to pour it into the cup. And you don't want a lot, all right? You just want enough to where it makes a nice creamy filler. And what the mat is going to do, it's going to bind, it's going to take that and bind the resin. It's going to make it a strong resin. So we're basically making homemade Bondo here. So we're going to cut the tip off of our hardener, and then like I said, I usually add a little more than it takes because I like it to get hard quick. And you can always add too much hardener. If you add too much hardener to your resin, what'll happen, it will crack and separate. So it's, there's a point there that you got to know where to stop. Okay, we got that mixed up. Let's get over there and fill in our cracks. Okay, you can see our cracks right here. We got 1 and 2. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our stick with our resin mat. You can see that right here, and I'm going to go ahead and force that in there. And I'm pushing it down. Now, once you get the mat to fill in, what will happen is the resin will actually come to the top. Okay, it kind of like separates. So you got to really get in there and do it properly. And take some more mat. Okay, let me get some more. There we go. Okay, we don't want to use too much because then we'll be taking it off. And you can see I actually mixed up quite a lot more than I needed, but that's okay. I'd rather mix, on this situation, I'd rather mix up more than enough so I know I got enough to play with. Another thing is when you do this, you want to make sure all the air bubbles are gone. You don't want any air bubbles. See how I'm tapping that down and I'm filling it in? Okay, now that that's done, the next thing we're going to do, which will be our final, what can I say, situation on this little repair is I'm going to take my 2-inch tape, and then I am going to put a piece of tape across this just like that. And what that's going to do, that's going to hold it in place and bind it. It's going to make sure that it binds really good. There we go. This one here. Dang it. Okay, see what happened there? We just screwed up. We pushed down on it, and we don't want to push down on it, so I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit more of my mix. You see, mistakes happen, and you got to fix them when you find them. We want to put it down on there, just like that. And you can see, as I push on it, you can see the resin basically rising. And when you put your tape on it, you don't want to push on the tape. You just saw what happened. We're going to take our tape again, and then we're just going to gently push down on it, just like that. And then we'll let that dry, and when we come back, then we can take our Rollo-Lock grinder and our D.I.Y sanders, and then possibly I might flip this over and put some fiberglass mat on the bottom. When we get done, I'm going to show you how they repaired it, which is the wrong way. And then I might go ahead and reinforce that with some fiberglass mat on the inside, just in this area, just to double up on it and make sure that it's repaired properly. Because the problem that you have is a lot of people that are doing these, there's two problems you have. One, they just want to paint it and get it out. Two, they don't give a shit. They're going to fix it the quickest way they can, get it out of the shop, and then it's on you. So we want to do it right. We want to make sure the job's done properly. We want a good reputation over here. We're honest, we're reliable, and this is how you show the world and you prove to people that I'm an honest guy. I'm not screwing you around. All right, we let our fiberglass basically dry, and it's been dry for approximately 30-40 minutes. You can see right there inside the cup that yeah, it's dry. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and pull our tape off, nice and easy, and you can kind of get a good idea of what's going on here. You can see that we fiberglassed that back together, and by using the tape, it basically reformed itself. We had a little issue right here on the corner though. I kind of wish I wouldn't have put the tape on there now, because when I put it around the corner, I see there's an air pocket inside here. Same over here. We're going to keep moving forward with it though and see where it leads. What I got here, I got my Rollo-Lock. This is a 36 grit pad. This is where it's going to get a little dangerous. If you're not used to using one of these, I suggest that you don't, and you go straight into something like this right here, which is a D.I.Y sander with 36 grit. This is a dual action, and it's not going to be as aggressive. We're going to go ahead and use this, but before we do anything, we're going to try to shape it using our Rollo-Lock, and you can see why I'm telling you. Okay, if you're not used to using one of these, don't attempt to do that on this. Go into another tool that's going to be less aggressive. So I'm going to take my Rollo-Lock and I'm going to clean these up, and we got a little air bubble here. We might have to re-fiberglass. And it looks like the fiberglass actually worked. It just had an air bubble inside there. This one here looks a little worse. So by using our Rollo-Lock, we went ahead and cleaned that up. Now what we'll do is we're going to take our 36 grit D.I.Y sander, and we'll go ahead and feather everything out using that. And we're still going to keep our eye on this right here where we had an air bubble, and see what's going to happen with that, because we're really not done fixing it. This is just the start of it. And then you can see by using the D.I.Y sander with the 36 grit, it basically took all of the resin that was on top of it off. And working with fiberglass is very, very, what can I say, extreme and very, very touchy, because one wrong sand or one wrong move when you're using air tools can screw the whole thing up. Okay, I got a few high spots in this area here. You can actually see them. That's a high spot where the resin was laying on it. Let's go ahead and take our D.I.Y sander and get rid of that. And that came out really nice. So I'm looking in this area right here and I see that's pretty deep. And that's what I'm talking about by air pockets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mix up some more resin and go ahead and fill that in. So, yeah. There you go. So this time what I'm going to do, I just went ahead and made another little small batch. I'm not going to use a paint stick on this one because I don't want to put any tape on those corners. But what I am going to do is I'm going to use a brush. Now what this is that we're looking at, this is a throwaway brush, and you want to make sure that you grab some of that mat. So we're going to go ahead and just lay it on there, and then we'll kind of wrap it around this edge. There we go. Gotta get that to, there we go, just like that. It's got to be wet. And then we'll repeat our process on the other side, making sure that we grab some of that mat. You got to use that mat. That's the trick. And that's way too much. This was a big crack right here, I can tell you that. So I'm going to go ahead and roll that around there, and I'll just let that dry. And I've actually had people want Corvettes painted, and they told me, well, you don't specialize in fiberglass. I want to take it to a fiberglass specialist. Okay. So what are you going to do? Take it to a boat shop because they work on fiberglass boats? I don't understand what you're talking about. And when people say stuff like that to me, I don't even hesitate with them. I just let them go down the road and do what they got to do, because, you know, they know more about it than me. And when you get into that angle of aspect where somebody actually knows more about it than you, it's best to just let them do what they got to do and don't deal with them, because the only thing they're going to do is bitch about it, because you don't know anything about fiberglass because you work on metal cars. And I guess you can kind of see where that would lead into. Just because you have a fiberglass car or a motorcycle doesn't mean you need to take it to a fiberglass specialist that all they do is work on fiberglass stuff, which the only thing I can really think of is a boat besides kit cars. Now, what I just did is I took my compound, and this is pretty normal, having to go back and do it twice. But you notice I used a brush, a throwaway brush on this trip. I didn't use my paint stick. I didn't use that. And what I'm doing underneath is I'm brushing that and I'm flowing it out because I want it to stick on there. And then I'm going to take the brush and just lightly tap it, and what this is doing, this is getting our air bubbles out. We don't want any air bubbles in our, see there? Okay, we're flattening it out and we're popping all them air bubbles while we're doing this. That's one of the most important things when repairing fiberglass, is to get all of the air bubbles out. So now we'll let this dry, and by doing this and rolling that compound around, that'll actually stiffen this structure up and make it stronger. We're going to go ahead and let that dry now, and then we'll repeat our process using our Rollo-Lock grinder and our D.I.Y sander, and remembering that, you know, we aren't a boat shop, so we don't specialize in fiberglass repair. So if you have a high-end fiberglass car, or possibly a, you know, very expensive drag bike motorcycle like we're working on now, you know, don't take it to a place like my friend Pete, because, you know, I work on metal stuff too. I'm a metal worker guy, see? So, you know, I don't specialize in it. I don't know what I'm doing. Let me go ahead and roll that around. It looks like it. There we go. Okay. All right. We'll be back. All right. Now that that's dry, on our second go around, we're going to go ahead and repeat our process. And we're going to take our 36 grit grinder one more time, and we're going to lightly sand that down. And all we're doing is busting the top layer off. We're going to finish it out with our 36 grit D.I.Y dual action sander. That's very important. Make sure that you have your D.I.Y sander, because that's what's going to give it the final cut. I'm just barely touching that. I'm just barely touching it. But according to some people, I'm not a fiberglass expert. You know, ask, you know, the fiberglass guy, or the guy that has a fiberglass car, you know, ask him. Look at that. Now, is that nice or what? And you know what? We're not even done yet. Because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little item here. I'm going to take this burring tool on my right angle air drill, and I'm going to go ahead and clean this up. But I'm not a fiberglass expert. All right? So if I'm doing it the wrong way, you know, leave a comment.
Now's the time that you want to hit the subscribe button, click on that bell for notifications, and comment below. Because if you don't, this big blob of Mondo's going to be inside your bed covers tonight when you crawl in there, and it's going to get in places that we really don't want to talk about right now. Do, my friend, Pete a favor and subscribe. Now, do it, or that Mondo's going to do you.
Now that we got the top of the fiberglass piece fixed, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and turn this over just like that. And just as I expected, this has been repaired several times. And I will say, not too good at that. The only thing I'm wondering is if that was done by a professional fiberglass guy. All this mess right in here. Now, I kind of see where they took some cloth. I wouldn't have used cloth. Cloth didn't do anything. Cloth is not good for repairs. Always use mat. And then I see where they did something over in this section here. Kind of slopped it on there. This was probably the Fiberglass professional that did that. That's who that was. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up my mess first. And we're going to go ahead and use our 36 grit Roll-Lock grinder one more time. I'm going to go ahead and clean up all this slop while we're at it. I'll get this side over here. And believe it or not, by having all that excessive fiberglass crap on there, will actually make the repair worse because it's binding and it's not releasing and flexing the way it should be. So by taking this tool right here, what we're doing is we are smoothing that out, and whoever fixed this, probably the professional, he built this up so heavy that when this thing is actually sitting on the frame or the bike, it's putting a lot of pressure on that and causing these cracks and not letting it release. But who am I to say that? Alright, and then once we've done that, we're going to go ahead and take our D.I.Y sander, and then we'll just smooth it out a little bit. And now, you can see that looks 100% better on the repair. Whoever repaired it. Probably the boat shop, the professional, not me. I'm nobody. Right? 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 And now we can see fiberglass repairs have been made. I'll go ahead and clean this up using some 36 grit by hand just to get that in a nice contour shape. But the cracks are gone. They've been reinforced using fiberglass mat and resin. We went ahead and cleaned all the inside up that was giving it pressure right here. That was so built up that when the guy was locking the bike down, I guaranteed that's what caused those cracks, is that it was pressurizing it, and from the vibration of being a drag bike, probably gave it the stress cracks that it had. So before we do any... Thank you, asshole! You see the shit I gotta put up with over here? Do you see this crap? You know, people driving by randomly and blowing horns while I'm in the middle of making a video. Are you shitting me, guy? Are you shitting me? You know, some people have all the nerves. First, you know, it comes down to, are you a professional fiberglass repair guy? Do you know what you're doing with fiberglass? And then we get the jackwad that drives by blowing horns while I'm in the middle of making a video. So here we are. We are now at the stage of going ahead and putting the primer on our fiberglass pieces that we are restoring. Remember, all this work that you're seeing going on here, it all applies to any old fiberglass, anything. What's this? Wow, a fiberglass drip from the professional that did it right. Nice, nice, I like that, I really do. So let's get this thing in the paint booth, let's get some primer on it. Let me go over the primer with you, what we're gonna use. We're not using your average everyday Joe primer on this. We're going to use a specialty primer that's specifically designed for doing this type of work. And then once we prime it, we're going to go forward with it and get her done. Do it right, do it right, do it right. Because if you're not doing it right, you definitely aren't doing it at all. This is Pete, my friend Pete, your friend Pete over here at D.I.Y. Auto School, trying to show you, give you, and tell you lessons of life, not just of this, but of that, and of course, this, all right? You see what I'm saying? Really? Really? Really?
Thanks for watching D.I.Y. Automotive School. Classes don't stop till you know everything.